What's up, everybody? My name is William Owen, and this is episode 2 of my game dev diary. And I'm probably going to be needing to start from the beginning with this one, really, because in that first one, I kind of just threw this video out there of my little platforming game because I was kind of excited. So I figured for this episode, I should at least like back up a little bit and explain what's going on. So I'm a web developer. I've been a web developer for 20 years, and so I make things in the browser using web technologies, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Node.js, React, all that kind of good stuff. And so I thought, well, I want to make a game because I love games. And so my first inclination was, let's make a game using web technology. And so that's kind of what I was doing. Like I did that a few years ago. Like I made a little game using like JavaScript, and then I kind of like played around with it. It wasn't like a real game. It was just kind of a concept. And at the beginning, end of this year, because it's like January 4th today. At the end of last year, just before New Year's and just sort of Christmas break, I started playing around with making a browser-based game again, and I kind of felt like it was the wrong tool for the job. Like I constantly felt like I was kind of fighting against the browser to try and do the kinds of things I wanted to do with my game. So I started having a look around for a game engine that I could use to actually write new games in, something that's maybe like more specifically designed for building games. And so I came across this. This is Yo-Yo Games, and they were having a sale. And I had a look at their showcase. If a quick look at their showcase, you can see that they make these really awesome, like specifically 2D games. But these are real games. These are really awesome games that are available on the Xbox and PlayStation stores and like available for the Switch and in Steam and stuff. So there's some really big games here and really beautiful games here that have been made with this GameMaker Studio 2 tool. And so I had a look at the pricing, and actually they've got the sale on right now, so 20% off. And it was being sold for like 80 quid, for $80, sorry, for Windows, Mac, and Ubuntu. So I thought, why not? Why not get into this game development stuff and maybe learn this tool? So I purchased this version and I downloaded it and started playing with it. I started reading some tutorials and I started looking at some online documentation and I started putting stuff together, and I made the game that I showed you in the previous video, the little platformer where you can shoot dudes. And that was super good fun. And then I started to run into some like challenge with regards to how GameMaker Studio, how you code the games. So GameMaker Studio uses this tool called GameMaker language. This is the language it uses to code the game's logic. And it's basically similar to JavaScript and C, but it's similar but not the same. And that's where my problems came in. Because I started to think about like, I want to make an array, right? And I want to know how many items are in that array. So this is how you do this. If you're not a programmer, then don't worry, but an array is basically just a list of things, like it's a list of a list of items inside a container. And basically, it's a very common thing to do in programming to want to know how many objects or things are in that container, how many items are in that list. So you'd use something like this, and in GameMaker language, you use array underscore length underscore 1D, and in brackets, you put your array. So it's a function that returns the number of items in an array, and you pass it the array. And that's when I started getting a bit weird about this, because actually that's a very odd syntax to use for something so common. Array underscore length underscore 1D is like very specific to GML. Like I've never seen that before in my life. And if you look at this other example, this is C#. So you can see in C#, it has this a dot length. So in this example, A is an array. They've made an array here. And a dot length returns the number of items inside that array. And that's what I'm used to. So that's very similar to JavaScript. JavaScript does the same thing. You can do a dot length in JavaScript. And it will give you the number of items in that array. And this is going to sound super crazy because I've been having so much fun building like games in GameMaker Studio that you'd think, well, why don't you just stick with it and learn this new stuff? But this to me is like a weird investment of my time. I'm going to have to learn this language that's very specific to this one application for building this game. And I don't know whether I want to invest the time learning a language that only exists in this one product. Whereas C Sharp, as by contrast, is used like for loads of products. You can build lots of things in C Sharp. You're not limited to just making games, and it's not designed just for making games. It's a proper big mature language. And so I kind of feel like, as much as I'm having so much fun building in GameMaker Studio 2 right now, and as much as I've made lots of really quick and really good progress, I feel like it's maybe the wrong application. Maybe it's the wrong language for me to learn. And maybe I need to move over to something else, which is why I'm thinking about moving over to Unity. So Unity is another game engine, but it's made... so Unity makes bigger games, like big 3D games, big 2D platformers, things you'll have definitely seen in the game stores and stuff. So these are some of the examples of games that are made with it. Trinity, Unruly Heroes, and like Escape from Tarkov. These are like bigger games. Hollow Knight, a great 2D game. Ghost of a Tale. These kinds of games are like really, really big. And so like Unity is a much bigger, much more mature game engine. And importantly for me, it uses C# under the hood as its kind of primary scripting language. It's a much more powerful game engine, I think, than GameMaker Studio 2. It's much more designed for anything up to from as you say, full 3D games to 2D games. But it's actually barrier to entry is a lot lower. So you can actually go and get this free version of Unity, which you can just download for free and start using and start making games with. So that's really awesome. And you can do that with there's this revenue thing right here. So basically, if you make over $100,000 in a year, then you need to upgrade your license to like a more professional one, because you're clearly making loads of money with their tool that they're giving you for free, and then they want some of that money. But there's this 100,000 a year cutoff here, so that as long as it's earning less than that, you don't owe them anything, and you can just use this thing to make free games, and that's great, or make games for free rather. But the one thing that I think is really straight up evil, in my opinion, is the fact that this exists. So they have this plus tier, which is $40 a month, or $400 for the year, and it's an annual plan. So basically, after a year, like I guess you lose it. I guess it's like a subscription. Annual plan paid monthly. So I think if you pay, like, if I play this annual plan, if I just pay $400, I think after a year, like, I think I go back down to the normal version if I don't carry on paying for it. So that's kind of evil. But okay, makes kind of sense if I'm making loads of money. And if I use this version, then I can earn $200,000 dollars a year with my game, and that will then that will give me that will get me sort of making some money, much more money, before I have to start paying extra or upgrading my licenses. So that's okay. It gives you things like real-time cloud diagnostics and live ops analytics. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. Which, makes sense. If you're making a real game and you're like putting it out in there in the real world and you're selling this game, you want to understand these things, like paying a little bit of extra money for getting these features, like, customizing the splash screen so that your company's logo is on there. Like, it all makes sense. The thing that doesn't make sense is dark theme UI. Why is this here? This is crazy. This doesn't make you make more money. This doesn't give you more. This is not the only thing this does is stop you having to look at a horrible screen, like a glaringly bright screen. When you're coding dark theme UI, it's just an accessibility thing. The idea that you've got a bright white interface, especially if you're coding at night, which, let's be honest, most coders are going to be coding at night. That's a must-have. Like, why have they locked this behind this plus tier? That's evil. That is straight evil. If they just gave you that in the personal, why do they even have a light UI? Like, they shouldn't, like, just make it so that there's only the dark theme UI. My God. I seriously think I'm going to end up, if I do use Unity, I can see myself paying my $40 a month just for the dark theme UI. If I'm using this every day, maybe that's something I'm going to have to do. And I guess that's why they do it, because they're straight evil. But that's an accessibility thing. That's not a revenue generating. All of this other stuff is like tools because you're already making a game and you're successful. But this is something you need right away because it just makes it more comfortable to use their software. And then the more you use it, the more you're likely to make a game that then can make them money as well. but that's just baffling, the fact that that's part of their plus tier. Anyway, that's that little thing aside. I'm just going to straight up use the free version for now. I'm going to have to go through and learn everything from scratch again. I'm going to have to like read a bunch of tutorials and like read a bunch of documentation and try and see if I can make a little platformer again using Unity. But I figure C# is definitely a better language for me to learn. I figure that if I can, I would much prefer to learn more C# than to learn GML specifically just for GameMaker Studio. So anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I'm hopefully going to make more of these. So hopefully in the next video, you'll see how much progress I've made with Unity, if indeed any. And that's it really. Hopefully there will be more videos. So until next time, goodbye.